Good morning, Shindo here. In the perception of most people, when they think about the quote, end times, they think about fundamentalist, crazy Christians. But, folks, it's not just the Christians. You also have, of course, in case you didn't know this, ISIS, for example, are trying to bring in these end times and their Messiah. But also the Jews. The Jews are looking for their Messiah. There's plenty of people in Israel who are awaiting the coming of the Jewish Messiah. This is an interesting article I found written by a Jewish rabbi for a website called Breaking Israel News. There are things that are happening in the world that haven't happened in a long time. Several months back, the Pope and the head of the Greek Orthodox Church got together. Hadn't happened in 1,000 years. Now, looking over at the Jews and Israel, looking at an article here, it's called Sanhedrin Revised 2,000-Year-Old Blessing for Counting of Jubilee Year. Now, I have a feeling that this Breaking Israel News, latest news, biblical perspective is for, of course, Christians who've got their heads so far up Jewish Zionist ass they can't see the light of day. So, Sanhedrin Revised 2,000-Year-Old Blessing for Counting of Jubilee Year. Here's a Bible verse on the top. And ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof, and shall be a jubilee unto you. Amidst the shofar blast, this Rosh Hashanah will include a mitzvah, biblical commandment, that hasn't been performed by the Jews in almost 2,000 years, counting the Jubilee. It is a simple mitzvah, reciting just a few lines, but performing this mitzvah is a declaration that the prophesied return of the Jews to Israel has been fulfilled, thereby establishing a blast for the rebuilding of the Jewish temple. Unbeknownst to all but a few witnesses, as Rosh Hashanah ended 11 months ago, the Nansiate Sanhedrin concluded months of deliberation by ruling that a certain conditions has been required the nation of Israel to begin counting the Jubilee cycle. Rabbi Avraham Don ben Shoar recited the blessing, and the 49-year cycle began again. When Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, ends next Tuesday evening, it will be time for Jews to count the second year of the Jubilee cycle. The blessings and the count are as follows. I think it's some Bible verses. I'll give you a link. Specific conditions outlined in Jewish law had to be considered by the Sanhedrin before reinstating this mitzvah. Unlike most Torah commandments being observed today, which are incumbent upon an individual, the Jubilee is a national mitzvah. Its observance is dependent upon most of Israel being in the land of Israel. To begin counting the Jubilee last year, the Sanhedrin, as a Bet Din rabbinic court, ruled that Jews have returned to the inherit lands as a nation, and not just individuals. This requires at least 600,000 Jews, equal to the number of Israelites that returned to Israel from Egypt under Joshua. Rabbi Helen Weiss, spokesman for the Sanhedrin, explained to Breaking Israel News, quote, "The Sanhedrin ruled that we are now clearly in the prophesied third inheritance of the land, the first being by Joshua, the second after the Babylonian exile." Excuse me. Quote, there are 5 mitzvot connected to the Jubilee, counting the Jubilee, letting free slaves, returning land, blowing the shofar, and forgiving debts. Rabbi Weiss explained, quote, we have reinstituted 1, the counting of the Jubilee. Rabbi Weiss added that blowing the shofar performed on Yom Kippur has not been reinstated as part of the mitzvah of Jubilee, but if an individual feels so inclined, he can do so without a blessing. It has been exactly 1 complete Jubilee cycle since the 6-day war in the unification of Jerusalem. Had the Jubilee cycle not been interrupted 2,000 years ago by the diaspora, the first year of the ongoing Jubilee cycle would have been 1967. The year Jerusalem was unified. And again last year, when the Sanhedrin reinstated the Jubilee, the next Jubilee will be declared in 2065, 48 years from now. Folks, okay, just an aside here, I did a video a couple weeks ago. Trump, when he becomes president, is going to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. This is significant, and these Jews are waiting for their Messiah to come, and they're just as animate and just as out there as these fundamentalist Christians who are waiting for the second coming of Christ and a rapture. To signify the reinstitution of the Jubilee and also to commemorate the Jubilee of Jerusalem, the Sanhedrin has issued a medallion. One side is engraved with the image of Solomon's temple, flanked by 2 shofars symbolizing the Jubilee. The other side shows a lit 7-branch menorah, 2 cherubim, and a Hebrew inscription stating that the third inheritance of the land of Israel by the Jews has officially been declared. The Sanhedrin is selling the medallion and setting aside the proceeds for use in the third temple. Quote, sale of this medallion will serve as a basis for the mitzvah of the half shekel, which was collected from every Jewish male, unquote. Rabbi Hill Weiss explained, quote, as such, the money will go towards acquiring animals, grain, oil, and wine for sacrificial purposes. It will also be used building and maintaining the temple, unquote. The rabbi specified the medallion does not fulfill the requirements outlined by the Torah for the half shekel and should be considered sacred, but all the funds will be reserved by the Sanhedrin for temple use. So it's getting more and more real as far as these people are concerned. When you have prophecies, folks, in a book, and when people are in power and authority to make these prophecies happen, then that's what they do. They make them happen. So, thinking about biblical prophecy and saying to yourself, oh, that's just nonsense because there is no God, it doesn't matter whether there's a God or not, whether there's a Yahweh or not. He's looking over this and blessing it or whatever. Doesn't matter. Because these people are going to make it happen. This has always been my argument when it comes to these so-called end days. This is the end of the age. And the end of the age is going to see the destruction of the Abrahamic faith. Because they cannot continue to exist in harmony. They don't know how. They don't know how. And since now we are slipping into a dark age, if we're not already there already. And I think the case could be made that we're already in a dark age. Here we have literally just libraries and libraries of information at our fingertips, literally at our fingertips. And what are we doing but believing in bullshit from books that tell us stories that were never supposed to be taken literally are being now taken literally. So they want to build themselves a new third temple. Now, this is just huge alarm bells for the Christians, right? Because according to the Christian tradition of this Antichrist, this person who is supposed to sit in the place of Christ, is going to manifest himself there at this third temple. In order to have a temple, you have to have sacrifices. Here you have the Jews in Israel collecting money so that they can, quote, the money will go towards acquiring animals, grain, oil, and wine for sacrificial purposes, unquote. If that doesn't disturb you, that the Jews are looking to again perform animal sacrifices towards their God, if that doesn't just disturb you right there, then it should. It should. I'm not going to speak against Jews in general, but these Jews in Israel, well, they're about like the fundamentalist Christians are here in the United States. They don't listen to reason. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. And all we need now, at this point, all we need now to finish this little puzzle for the Jews is a president in the United States that is sympathetic towards Israel. And by all appearances, that's not Hillary Clinton. That is Donald Trump. Donald Trump not only has said that he's going to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, never done, okay, as it says in this article in 1967, they regained Jerusalem, was not recognized by the United States as the capital of Israel. Once that happens, it's going to drive the Muslims insane. As I said in this video a few days ago, Donald Trump not only wants to recognize Jerusalem, but he is not pushing forward this, what they call this two-state option, this two-state peace option, where the Palestinians get their own country. He is against that. And there's no president of the United States that has ever been against it. They always push this two-state solution. Always. Always. And here we got Obama, who, by the appearances, if I was in Israel and I was a Jew, and I can tell you Netanyahu figures that Obama's, let's just say, sympathetic towards the Muslims. So once he's out, the pendulum is going to swing the other way. What's most dangerous about these libs and their agenda, because their agenda is not going to be done. It's not going to happen. What's most dangerous about the liberal agenda is that we're going to see such a swing on the other end, because people are frightened of this liberal agenda. They're frightened of the idea of a one-world government and things like that. So everything's going to swing in the other direction here. And it's going to swing so hard that it's going to cause not just the destruction, the dissolution of this country, but the rest of the world. The economy of the United States, what you go out there and buy because you have the money to do it, even the poor of us here in the United States have a lot more money than other people. We have money out the wazoo as far as the rest of the world is concerned. the West is able to purchase things. Once the West stops doing that, once the United States stops buying new cell phones and big TVs, etc., 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 cars, once that stops, the economies of the world is going to feel it. It is going to be much worse than Germany was after World War I. This is happening. This is happening. If you want to hear about this kind of news, and look, I'm looking in all aspects of this. Obviously, I'm not a Christian. Okay? Obviously, I'm not foolhardy enough to believe a bunch of bullshit about these so-called end times. I do, however, see from a rational perspective that these people are making these things happen. And if you want to hear news about what's really going on, realistically, okay, I put out things, folks, that I think a lot of people don't watch my videos before they start condemning it, because you don't understand that I'm trying as best I can to be objective when I put out these videos. So, please, subscribe to my channel. Comment like an adult. Like my videos. Share my videos. And you will see on the bottom of your screen here in about a minute, at the end of this video, you're going to see a box to look at another video of mine. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm doing. That video there. That's what my wife and I are doing. We are all about spreading an understanding of who you are, who we all are. So, not religious, spiritual. So please check out my other videos, not just the news ones. This is Shindo. Have a good day.